NFL draft defensive tackle breakdown. Let's just take a look at the board real quick. And we've got it sorted by overall grade over on the far right, low number wins. And then what we've got are the prospects listed out, the defensive tackles. You can kind of see where we came up with these scores. All right. So at the top of the list for us as it sits right now is Caden McDonald. Okay. So we've got Caden McDonald at the top of the list with a 25.3. An easy way to look at our grade. And you guys, if you're not new here, you know already what I'm going to say. If you see that grade, think of the grade being that's around the pick that they're worth. Okay. Now it doesn't mean they're going to be like Caden McDonald with a 25.3. It doesn't mean he's going to be ranked 25th on our board, but it means somewhere around pick 25 is a good way of looking at that. Okay. And of course, when we do our horizontal board during our live draft coverage, you're going to see who the best prospects available are. And they're probably going to be sitting significantly higher than what their grade shows in some cases. And then as you get deeper into the draft, you get these guys that are graded out similarly, and there's going to be a bunch of clusters that you got to bust, right? So again, Caden McDonald at the top of the list is 25.3. Caleb Banks out of Florida, 28.6. So both those guys in the same tier for us as it sits right now. Peter Woods is interesting. Peter Woods is sitting there at 34.0. People probably think I don't like Peter Woods as a prospect. That is not the case, guys. I think Peter Woods has a chance to be a great football player. I just don't subscribe to these people that think he's a top 10 pick. And he may go in the top 10. I just don't see it personally. You got a guy who's gotten worse every year, according to PFF. 12th at his position, 26th, and 206. All right. And you can see the PFF big board has him at 9. The consensus big board has him at 12. DJ had him at 34. Dane Brugler had him at 33. We got a 34.0. So, when you look at this across the board, Daniel Jeremiah and Dane Brugler agree with us, right? That we got that 34. Now their grade's obviously factored in, but again, the PFF grade is what's kind of pulling him down a touch. And you got to go back a year. I'm not saying that Peter Woods won't be a great football player, but this idea that he's a top 10 talent, Tim, I just don't get it, man. Does that make sense? Like I'm looking for if I'm spending a top 10 pick on a player, there's a couple of different boxes I want to check. I want to make sure he's got elite traits, and I think Peter Woods has a good chance of having elite traits. We'll find out soon enough. I also want to know that they're ascending as they're entering the league. He's doing the opposite. It looks like he's played worse football every year, Tim. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 72.5 according to PFF last season. I mean, he certainly fits the mold, though, right? I mean, 6'3", 310. I mean, he's that body type, barely 21, can't even have a daddy soda yet. So, I mean, there's just certain upside to him. But, yeah, I don't know about a top 10 pick at all on him.
And
what do you think?
This explains right here, Emilio, what we're talking about with defensive tackle. Like, Kristen Miller's been my guy this year, and the reason being is because some people think he's going to fall outside of the first round. If he falls outside of the first round, boy, you're talking about a value pick at 35.8. At the same time, Peter Woods sitting at a 34.0. People are saying he might go in the top 10. I would rather wait on Kristen Miller if it were me. And if you're in the top 10 and you want to get someone of similar value, trade back and grab Kristen Miller. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and I like Kristen Miller too, just because he's more of like an all-around kind of guy. You get a little bit more steady line average rather than, you know, sort of the dips and races there. But yeah, like Tim was saying with Woods, you know, I think it kind of all falls back to where Greg Cosell always says everybody thinks they have a 3-tech and then nobody really has a 3-tech, right? So you're always kind of chasing that, kind of like a quarterback. It seems like they don't have their own quote unquote draft inside the draft like the QBs do, but I think they're probably the next in line. I feel like every year teams are looking for a D tackle. Every year, you know, we got Tavondre Sweat. You got the big dude out of Florida that was like 350, right? And you're like, well, can he make it? But we're still going to draft him and give him a shot, because if he does, if he's 350, 400 pounds and he can make moves on the inside, we're cruising.
Yeah,
but you're always looking. So I don't know. I'm still kind of off on Peter Woods, especially any D line from Clemson too. They just got that. They got that history.
And I'll tell you, somebody who has crept up now with Kristen Miller in that ballpark is Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. Lee Hunter is another player, very interesting. So in 2023, he was 155th graded at his position, and then he dropped to 218, and then last year jumped all the way to 38, right? The PFF big board had him at 53. Consensus big board had him at 48. He got a 5-point bonus because he dominated at the Senior Bowl, okay? Mm-hmm. Daniel Jeremiah's got him as high as 26, but Dane Brugler's got him at 60. So Lee Hunter finishes with a 41.1, right there in the same ballpark as a Kristen Miller, one tier lower. So it's like When we get to 52, if Lee Hunter up on our board, any of those guys are available, run the card on the defensive tackle. I'm totally cool with it, right? That's what we're talking about. It's that important of a position. Now, some people like Darrell Jackson. The Packers met with him, I think, at the East-West Shrine Bowl, 86.0, and Dominic Orange at a 90.0. Those are two guys. I like them as well, but maybe at 84, right? So
Corleone and Gil Howard as well. I do like those guys, just maybe later on in the draft if it doesn't fall right for you. If you're taking that, offensive interior in round 2, all right, cool. Who's going to still be available by round 3? I wouldn't mind either of those two.
Gil Howard is very fascinating, Tim, because we, obviously we're showing an injury in 2025, so we got to make sure that checks out. But he jumped from 180 to 24th at his position, and Tankathon had him all the way down at 142. So it's like, man, if he's hanging around late, we got a 123.8 grade on him. The consensus big board had him 184. The PFF big board had him 109. But this is what I wanted to show you here. When you slide down to this graphic right here, so what you've got, guys, on this graphic is pass rush win rate on the left running vertically, and at the bottom you got run stop rate. So essentially anybody in that upper right quadrant, it's saying they are a well-balanced football player in terms of run stop rate to pass rush win rate. Tim, Skylar Gil Howard is at the top of the freaking list. He's in that upper right quadrant along with Peter Woods. You've got Halton out of Oklahoma, and of course Lee Hunter up there as well. Any of those guys, according to this, you got Kristen Miller in close proximity too. But really, what this chart is showing is there's two defensive tackles, Tim, that, man, they can do both. They can play both the run and the pass, and that's Skylar Gil Howard and Peter Woods.
Absolutely, and Emilio brought up Corleone as well. Him and Howard are kind of towards that same crop for me, but I would lean towards Skylar Gil Howard. I mean, we only got 7 games out of him last season, but I mean, I believe he graded in the 80s, 88.6 according to PFF. 6'1", 290. We'll take him to Culver's. We'll get him some cheese curds. We'll put some pounds on him for that NFL body type that we're looking for. But you hit it on the head, man. That versatility. I think it's no secret that we need help against the run. And if we got a guy that can play the run and the pass effectively, I see no problem taking a shot on him in the draft for sure.
And out of Texas Tech, Tim, where their defense was really, eating it up this past year, you get that kind of that dog mentality coming out of there with those, and 2 of them up there, 2 of them in the upper right quadrant. There's got to be a reason for it, right?
Absolutely. That's where you want your dogs too, in the trenches, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Halton is one I want to look at. Let's see if we can find Halton on our board. Where is he sitting at? So we've got him in the 120.6 grade, okay? He's gotten better. 24, he was 120th. He jumped all the way to 17th, okay? The PFF big board had him at 231. Consensus big board had him at 141. Tankathon had him at 114. So he finishes with a 120.6. That's one to look for, Emilio, maybe there. Yeah. What would that be?
He's sitting there. Maybe up 4th round, he'd be sitting at 134 on our board in total with everybody. So not too far off of where his grade is on the right there. But it's really anybody that you can kind of get production from, you're going to take a chance on. If you think you can make it happen, it's going to, they're going to pull the trigger on that.
And again, that's if the board falls in a way that it doesn't make sense to take a defensive tackle at 52. To me, that would, if all these guys get taken, right? If Caden McDonald, Caleb Banks, Peter Woods, Kristen Miller, and Lee Hunter are all off the board at 52, that makes the decision for us, and we can really press into the need of offensive line, right? Yeah. You can go offensive line or cornerback potentially. So now, if cornerbacks and offensive line go on a run, and somehow, some way, Peter Woods or Kristen Miller sitting there at 52, all right, you're taking the best player available, and that might be Devonte Wyatt's replacement next season if they don't extend him, being 28 years old, right? So just a number of ways to look at it. Let's look at some other details here. I love these heat maps. I think this is how you would describe this. So what you're looking for in these guys, it shows their alignment. We won't focus on that as much. We talked about that in the past. Let's go run defense. You got stop rate and missed tackle rate. Okay, so it's going to show you how well do they tackle, and how often do they make what we call a run stop, which is it's not necessarily negative yards. It's not a tackle for a loss, but it means a negative play in terms of EPA for the offense, and you were the guy that made the tackle, right? So run stop rate, we're going to go missed tackle rate, and then on the pass rush side, we're going to go pass rush win rate and pressure percentage, okay? And what you're looking for is more green, less red. It's real simple. Emilio, there's 2 guys that jump off the freaky, actually 3 guys that jump off the map here to me. So those three are Lee Hunter, Kristen Miller, and Corleone. Okay. So now if we jump back up, Peter Woods, his run stop rate's 11.3%. That's great. Missed tackle rate, 13.5%. His pass rush win rate's 11.4%. That's great. But his pressure percentage is 7.1%. That's bad. So you got a little bit of green, a little bit of red. You jump down to Caleb Banks. According to this heat map, he was cheeks against the run, right? His stop rate was 3.2%. His missed tackle rate was 22%. However, dominant pass rusher, right? 10.6% win rate, 11.7% pressure rate. Now, that looks like Devonte Wyatt to me, right? Yeah. We've already got Caleb Banks at home, guys, right? So if you go on down, Caden McDonald, it's the opposite. Excellent run defender, horrible pass rusher, according to these metrics, right? Now, Lee Hunter, green, white. So there's no red across the board. You're talking about a stop rate of 10.7%, missed tackle rate of 7%, a pass rush win rate of 9.7%, and a pressure percentage of 8.2%. Okay. And it is worth mentioning that it looks like Lee Hunter lined up 72% of the time in the B gap. So he kind of played 3-tech more than he did shade or nose in that regard. Could be that they faced a lot of 11 personnel. But Kristen Miller, very similar. Light green, white. No red across the board, right? 8.2% stop rate, 8.1% missed tackle rate. Pass rush win rate was 10.4%. And then, of course, pressure percentage was 8%. And, of course, Corleone, white, green, light green. So you've got those three players, Lee Hunter, Kristen Miller, and Corleone. According to this chart, it looks like they might be the safer pick, boys. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah, it's interesting to see Corleone coming in ahead of Big Citrus there. Darrell Jackson, Skylar Gill-Howard, we just talked about. It is interesting when you get to see this breakdown like this. I'm with Emilio, though. I think Lee Hunter might be the guy you go snatch up if you have to, depending on how free agency shapes up for us. I think Lee Hunter's a guy we may have to go up and get. We may have to make a move in the draft to grab him, because I see a lot of these names going relatively soon.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Tim. And obviously, you're going to look at the draft and go, all right, give me anything green. So you're looking at Halton, you're looking at Gil Howard, and like Clay said, Hunter and Cam, Christian Miller there is the only one, maybe Corleone. But you're wanting something that's going to give you across the board, right? Because if we're just going to get a D tackle that's going to play the run stop, just bring back TJ Slayton, right? It's not like we need to, we're not going to go out. I feel like you're always going to try to draft somebody that can bring you a little bit of pass rush. So maybe you kind of X-nay a couple of the guys with the red on the right columns, and then you sort of narrow it down. And that's where I feel like, okay, Gutey's got, their top 50, right? We're going to get them in the first 3 rounds. If anybody there on the red there, anywhere from Bever down on the bottom right there, take them off the board, right? I feel like they won't even be looking at them. Like, I want to narrow it down to 5 potential D tackles that we could take. If they're off the board, all right, they're off the board, but we got to keep moving. You got other options. We got to do other things. And I feel like that's how they get to, narrowing it down so much and getting their top 50 3 rounds in.
Yeah. I like what Brambo's saying here in the chat, looking at Grayson Halton.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, talk about value there. I mean, where is he on our board again? Because he's 130 on PFF.
Halton is 134 on the board in total with the 120.6 grade.
You say late round Jim, baby?
Yeah, that might be someone to keep an eye on, right?
And let's say that Skylar Gill-Howard and Halton are there when you pick later in the draft, okay? Looking at this heat map, you go, okay, we feel good about both of them. Well, let's go back up. Skylar Gill-Howard, or actually down. Skylar Gill-Howard and Halton, where are they at? Skylar Gill-Howard wins the tiebreaker here. That would be your cluster buster, right? If you're going off of the pass rush win rate and run stop rate, right? So it doesn't mean that Skylar Gill-Howard is significantly better than Halton, but you got them in the same ballpark. So you're starting to – I'm a redneck. You guys know I live down here in Tennessee, man. I own way more firearms than I should probably ever own, right? So we're always at the range. We're always sighting in rifles. And talking about, it's like, okay, when you're sighting in a rifle, you're making adjustments on the fly. You're trying to get as close as you can, right, to the bullseye. And as you get closer, you're making slight adjustments. Okay, well, what about this? Well, what about that? Okay, you're factoring everything in, especially if you're taking a 300-yard shot. You're starting to factor in the wind a little, everything. You take all of these analytics and throw them into the pot. And what ends up happening at the end of the day is you end up with 2 or 3 guys where you go, man, those are the slam dunk safest picks. Now, listen, it doesn't mean they're going to be great football players. Nobody knows. The draft it's such a crapshoot. This isn't going, oh my God, these idiots, why would they not take him? This is so easy. There's things that they like about individual players. It might be traits. It might be physical attributes. It might be FBI. But when you look at it as a whole, you want to really narrow this thing down to where you can truly get into, okay, who's going to be the safest pick for you? And when people hear safe, they think, oh, that's not the right mentality. You need a killer instinct mentality. Not in the draft. You better have all of your I's dotted and your T's crossed. When you get on the clock and it's time to pick, you got to feel convicted that that is our dude right here. Same thing applies with cornerback and everything in between. So,
and like Emilio said, be ready to move on. You know, if you've got your targets set and those guys are off the board, you got to go best available. You've got to be able to move.
Yeah, Tim, I could see them just taking a picture of that top right quadrant right there, saying, give me those 8, and then we're going to move on to edge rushers and linebackers, and we're going to keep on moving.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Now, Peter Woods, big conversation point, right? I think people think that I don't like Peter Woods as a prospect. It's not that.
I heard it. I actually heard Clay say that word for word. It was just
So when you look at Peter Woods and where he has been, the percentage of where he's being mocked at. Okay, so this is where he'll probably be drafted. So there's 100% chance that he will be available up to the 7th pick. Okay, at the 8th pick, it drops to 98%. And then let's fast forward all the way down to pick 15. It's now dropped to 84%. When you get to pick 24, it's down to 41%. So again, the fact that it's like, hey, there's a 16% chance that he'll be taken in the first 15 picks. I can't get on board with that with Peter Woods. There's just prospects that are better than that, right? So again, Peter Woods at 52, run the card, right? Trading up for Peter Woods, let's say to the 40 mark, if you feel really convicted that he's the guy, I can make a case for that according to our board. But when we look at these other analytics, you know, like this lines up, pass rush win rate with run stop rate. Yeah, that says it's worth the pick. However, when you go to the heat map, where's Peter Woods? You got a little bit of pink there. Missed tackle percentage, got to work on that. And his pressure percentage was down, although his pass rush win rate was through the roof. So these are the things you got to take into consideration when you're potentially making those draft picks. So that's a quick breakdown of the defensive tackle position. If you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about the prospects we just broke down? Is there one you like above the other? Maybe give us your top 3. That would be a fascinating conversation in the comments. Let us know your top 3 defensive tackles in this year's draft. Hit us up in the comments with that. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you catch all the live streams in the future.